Hi guys, welcome to the Farr Side of Normal podcast. My name is Stacie Farr, the creator and your host. This is going to be the introduction to the podcast and yours truly, me. This podcast has been several years in the making. Sometimes I'm a little bit slow and it takes me a while to kind of, how do they say, get my poop in a group. So yeah, several years ago when we were in COVID lockdown, I actually had a couple of friends tell me that I should start a podcast. With everything that was going on, honestly, I thought, no, it's not the right time. Even though I know that when we were in lockdown, a lot of people were pivoting. They were looking at new hobbies that were turning into new jobs. They were doing a lot of entrepreneurship things, creating businesses from their hobbies, basically taking a breath and reevaluating life because we realized how fleeting and how delicate it was. It wasn't the time for me, but in recent months, I'm a little bit slow sometimes. I'll just start with that. In recent months, several different people told me I should start a podcast. If one person tells me something, okay, fine. If two people tell me, now I'm paying attention. And if three different people or more tell me the same thing, okay, now it's a game on. So I decided to throw my hat into the ring, so to speak. I wanted this podcast to be kind of an introduction of me and why I started it and who I am as your host and creator. Growing up, I've always been different. But the time that I grew up, I'm not going to tell you my age, but let's just say I'm more mature. It wasn't all over the media. It wasn't all over TV. It wasn't all over social. One, we didn't have social media, but two, it definitely wasn't a being different is good, being different is amazing, be yourself, be unique, blah, 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 all the adjectives. It was a rigid conformity to the status quo. When you grow up a little black girl in America that's really shy and introverted, when you like things that not everyone in your demographic liked at the time, again, now everybody is into all kinds of things and no one bats an eye. But at the time, being a little black girl, growing up proper, because we had a grandmother that was adamant about us having education, growing up proper in the hood, not a good look. Being very, not even prissy, but contained and quiet and shy in the projects, not so fun. I got tortured and teased a lot, throwing the fact that we all know that, let's just be real, colorism exists, and being darker was not a good thing. So you have this quiet, chubby, dark-skinned little girl, not a good look. And it was challenging. Growing up being told that you're not normal and that not being a good thing kind of got to you after a while. And so I want this podcast to be where those people come. It's funny how years later, probably a couple years ago, I learned what outlier is, and it was in the context of I love counseling, and we'll probably do a podcast on it down the road, but it's either counseling, incarcerated, or committed. I'm choosing the lesser of three evils, people. But my counselor was like, Stacie, you're an outlier, and I had to figure out what that was, and then once I realized, I thought, the pieces started to fall into place. It's not a bad thing to be different. At the time, I thought it was because I didn't know there were other people that were different, but also I was told that by my family, by society, by my culture, by my people. Even when I moved to the South, which I've never lived in the South, I remember on my first job that I took here, a guy came up to me and he was saying, Black people don't do that. And I thought, what? And I got that a lot growing up. Oh, we don't like that, or we don't do that, we don't try that. Why? In recent years, I've come into my own. Honestly, I think having lockdown and timeout with COVID forced people to be still and to figure out not just who they were, but what they were. What were they about? What were their values? What were their convictions? Who did they want to be versus who they were, because that's what we were told to be. This podcast is kind of that. I remember growing up being called so many names, and thinking, oh, but in recent years, honestly, I wear it as a badge. I remember being told that I talk white, which I didn't know that that was a thing until I was told that a lot growing up, and even in recent years, and being teased and called a Becky and a Buffy. And it used to hurt my feelings, but now I'm okay with that. It's just who I am. And in recent years, I've grown to not just like, but love me. I want the Farr Side of Normal to be a platform where the outliers and the nerds and the awkward, geeky, nerdy people can hang out and feel safe, to have fun and celebrate our differences and our uniquenesses that God has created us with. It's funny because growing up, I've loved all kinds of things. And again, at the time, that wasn't commonplace, especially for minorities. We didn't see ourselves in TV and in magazines and in books unless they were specifically geared towards Black people. I remember Jet and Essence. If you remember Jet magazine, I'm dating myself, but don't try to figure out how old I am. Anyways, it was awkward to love comic books. It was seen as nerdy to love musicals and theater. It was weird that you love cartoons. It just was at the time. I remember when the song by Huey Lewis in the News came out, It's Hip to Be Square. That was my anthem. And I love that song because they made it cool to be square. And I am definitely that. I love Issa Rae when she came out with the awkward Black girl. We always see the awkward white girl or the awkward other cultures, but we never saw an awkward Black girl as the center of attention or the main character. I loved her for that because that's me. I am socially awkward, or is the word inept? Whatever. I don't know how to move in those spaces, and God save the queen if it has anything to do with guys, but I am just, yeah. But with that being said, I want to celebrate our differences. I am awkward. I am an extreme introvert, but my job calls me to extrovert all over the place. I used to train nurses on computer software, and I would travel a lot. You guys, in 1 year, I spent 180 days in a hotel or in various hotels across the country. I used to sneak in to town, get to my house, and just hold down the fort and not talk to people for weeks because I was burnt out. Switch gears, and not to make light of it, but when COVID hit and we had to shelter in place, I thought, oh my gosh, I have been training my whole life for this. Woohoo! Books, activate. Snacks, activate. Silence, let's go. It was glorious. And I know for other people it was not glorious, but for me, I was living the dream. I'm in my element. I was training my whole life for this. And I want that to be okay. The other thing about being an outlier is you find it, or for me, it's been hard sometimes because you don't fit in. My family is amazing. My mom, God rest her, and my brother, rest in peace, and my sister and myself were our little family unit. If the Olympics were extroverts, they would be gold medal all day long. And then there's little me in the background, the wallflower. Never mind that they're all beautiful and we know that there's colorism, and so I'm the little black sheep. Literally, it's a whole nother story. But I didn't really quite fit in with that family, my real family. And then going to school, I didn't fit in because I didn't fit in the social groups. I was kind of all over the place. Getting to college, you kind of didn't fit in. And even honestly in church, sometimes it gets exhausting trying to figure out what lane you're supposed to be in or where your lane is, only to discover, oh, it's a very narrow lane. And that's not a bad thing. You just have to figure out how to still thrive and flourish in that world. I want the Farr Side of Normal podcast to be that. Us celebrating our differences and our uniqueness and still having fun. It's funny to me now that me and my sister are night and day. A perfect example, several years ago, I was going to a John Williams symphony and I was fired up and people were dressed in costumes and it was glorious. And it was everything. My sister was going to Funk Fest. Sometimes I have a partner in crime. Usually it's just me being solo and I had to get comfortable with that. And I want you to be comfortable with that wherever you're at. And I say all this to say, it's not a bad thing. It's just different. And different can be good. Different can be fun, even though different is challenging. Sometimes, if I'm honest, this podcast is going to be full disclosures. It gets lonely. But for the most part, I don't mind. I've done so many things by myself that I sometimes have to remind myself to invite people along on the adventure instead of just going off by myself. I want this podcast to be adventures. My awkward, nerdy self and my weird perspectives, things that I love, my creative brain that never shuts down. I laugh and tell my counselor that my mind never sleeps, you guys. I describe my mind as a monkey on trampoline with springs on its feet. It is always going from the time I go to bed, honestly, even in my dreams. And I wake up and it's on and we're hitting the ground and we're off to the races. And recently I discovered there are people that don't have an internal dialogue or voice. What? What does that mean? How does that even work? Like how? I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I don't trust you. I don't trust that. What kind of serial killer? What do you mean you don't? How do you talk yourself out of buying something that you know you shouldn't, or reminding yourself that you can't go to jail because it's not in the budget and don't choke people? What do you mean you don't have an internal dialogue or voice? I don't trust it. I don't trust them. Something suspicious or amiss or awry. I mean, I'm awkward and weird, but Anyways, I digress. But I love music. I love live music. I love music of all kinds. I used to work at a music company, a record label. My job was going to concerts. It's always fun. And again, remember, this has been a time where people didn't step out of their bounds or their lanes. I was all over the place. I'm all in the bushes. I'm all over the curb. I would go to these concerts and it was so much fun because usually it'd be little me, maybe one or two other people. And usually they were black guys, maybe one or two other black girls. And we'd be like, hooray. But you get noticed because you stand out like a sore thumb. But I guess that was a good thing. There's been jobs, you guys, where I've literally been the only person in the entire building, not just company, building, because I didn't know that no one else had applied for a job. I remember applying for this job and getting it. And later down the road, my boss told me that I was the first black person that had ever applied for this job. Now, you would never, ever say that in this day and age, but back in the day, that was acceptable. And I was like, oh. And she said, you're the first person we've ever hired that's black. What? And then she told me, threw my socks off, that no one's ever applied. And I thought, oh, because I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. There's benefits of being awkward or not knowing that you're not supposed to do things or it's not the normal. Can you do them? I've been to country concerts and I've been pushed down a mountain in a sled to get over my fear of heights. I have gone to a 4D movie, The Polar Express, which I love. It's one of my favorite movies. I've gone to rodeos and cutting events, and it's just fun. I've gone skiing and snowshoeing in the mountains of Colorado. I told people to take a picture because it was a whole story. That's a whole nother podcast. Oh, still traumatized. Snowshoeing, yes. Skiing, no. Again, afraid of heights, not a good look. It was just, mm-mm. I've been an extra in a pilot for a TV show that didn't get picked up just because I thought that sounds fun. I want this podcast to be us celebrating who we are and trying new things and sharing our perspectives. There are a lot of incredible podcasts out there. I wanted to throw my hat in, so to speak, with this one because I want someone that looks like me, that has my experiences and background, that's a modest mouse, everything's going to be G or PG, to have their voice too. I love romance and I love it. I've never had love, but I love love and I love celebrating it and helping people get their happily ever after. That's why I'm enamored with Bridgerton and Now Clean Charlotte. T-Clap Shondaland. I have to figure out how to be an extra to wear the wigs and the gowns, and that's going to be a podcast down the road. But all this to say, I love love. I think it's the greatest thing ever, and I want wholesomeness. I adore, again, live music of any kind. I've gone to bluegrass and heavy metal and hard rock and swing and big band and country and rock. I've gone to everyone from B.B. King to C-spot rock, heavy metal and country music to folk. And I love it because live music is everything. I've gone to the theater and checked off a bucket list to see on Broadway a Broadway show. It was amazing. I love things that I love, and I kind of am OCD. I almost get obsessive or fixated on something, and you're going to hear many podcasts about this. I'm just going to warn you now. I love Supernatural, and yes, I did watch all 15 seasons, every single episode. You're welcome. When we shut down, I was actually supposed to go to a convention in 2020, and then COVID hit and we were in lockdown. And I haven't gone to one yet, but that's okay. In my nerdiness and in my obsession, I created a web series from scratch, kind of as a spinoff and a love letter to the show. The videographer of the web series at the time convinced me to submit a couple of episodes to a film festival. I thought, okay, again, I'm doing this out of my pocket just for fun. You guys, we took home 2 of the 5 prizes. What? Be unique, be different, be an outlier. I don't know. I went to a Bridgerton ball and checked off something on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go to a ball. The gowns and the dresses and the hair and the pomp and circumstance. God love you, Shonda Rhimes and Shondaland for Bridgerton. I went to a Bridgerton experience, you guys. It was glorious. Oh, I was almost the diamond. What? Yes, got handed a slip of paper, a note card on a silver platter with a guy in full regalia that told me I was in the running to be the diamond. I was happy being there just watching all the beautiful people and the handsome men, but to be told that I was in the running for the diamond, what is this madness? It was amazing. You guys, I got to check off another bucket list. For a milestone birthday, I won't tell you which one it was, I was a mermaid. I've always been fascinated with Greek mythology and I love mermaids, but I've never seen black mermaids. And there's this girl on TikTok and I saw her. And I've never seen a plus size mermaid. And I saw one of those and I thought, I'm gonna be a mermaid for my birthday. You guys, I have to drink water for this. I did a photo shoot. I was a mermaid. It turned out amazing. If I do say so myself, I looked incredible. It was awesome. Oh my gosh. I'll add pictures at the end of the podcast. It was incredible. All because I wanted to. I loved being a mermaid. I've gone to Dragon Con conventions. I love nerdy things. In full gear, me and a friend had the most fun people watching. It was magnificent. I was asked by a friend to be in print ad for some makeup brand. I don't even know the name because they needed minorities. So my little black face is somewhere out there on somebody's makeup brand, brochures and pamphlets for, the pyramid things. Yeah, don't even know the name of it. I've gone to hotels where at sunset, there's a guy in full kilt and regalia walking around the property until the sun goes down playing the bagpipes. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to, so I did. And it was glorious. All of this to say, I want the Farr Side of Normal to be where you have permission to be yourself, to be awkward. When it comes to dating and love, I'm as single as a dollar bill. No, wait, no. The guy at the Bridgerton experience, he was a pirate with his princess queen. He said I was not as single as a dollar bill. What did he say? Oh. I am a lady in waiting. I am a lady in waiting because I don't know social cues, or does he think I'm swell? Like, is he flirting with me? What are we doing? I don't know, or a runaway. That's a whole nother story. Maybe I'll find my dream come true on this podcast. Anyways, I want this to be a place where you feel safe. With all the crazy that's going on in the world, I want you to come on this podcast and think, oh, this is so silly. And there'll be serious topics, but in this Farr Side of Normal, I want to talk about things that are in my brain, random thoughts, off-topic subjects. I don't know, my commentary that is constantly going in my brain. I want us to try things together. I love tasty beverages, not really alcohol because I don't like the taste of alcohol, but I love beverages. I am a beverage connoisseur. For example, there's this brand called Deep Rose, and it is rose flavored lemonade. Oh, you guys, it is just, it makes me smile. And then there's Fever Tree, and they have this elderflower tonic water. Oh, I love elderflower. It's so delicious and crisp and refreshing. Oh, I love it. I want to talk about things I love. There's probably going to be several episodes of me pretending that I'm a casting director and pitching cartoons from the 70s and 80s that I want to see, and even the early 90s, that I want to see become live action, like Johnny Quest. That would be, you can't tell me that would not be a dope live action. And then remember the cartoon Gargoyles, Goliath in his voice? Oh my gosh, that would be glorious. I have the most magnificent in my brain cast for Gargoyles. It's going to be a podcast. It's going to be a whole show. It's going to be a podcast. We're just going to have to do it because, yeah. I want us to do things and try things and be okay being the only person. Or maybe find people, find our tribe, find our group, find our people. I've done things that, again, at the time, people didn't do that looked like me. But that's okay. I'm learning that the Farr Side of Normal has plenty of room. It's not the stay in your lane. It's not the wide and narrow. It's not a everybody looks like this or the whole family. No, it's unique and fun and uncomfortable, but worth it. I want to check off a few more bucket lists. I love reading old English books, and in the ton at the time, when a guy got done with his schooling or education, he would go off on this grand tour. I guess go around the world and like look at this and see that and I don't know, experience this. But then he would come back home, kind of dust himself off, find a wife and be respectable, maybe take over the family business and settle down. I want to go on a mini grand tour. I don't want to go for a year, although that would be amazing, but just a mini grand tour. I want to go to Scotland and sleep in a castle with a moat. I want to go to England and have high tea. I want to go to Ireland and go to a pub and have a pint. I want to go to Switzerland and take a train up and see how beautiful the scenery is. I want to go to Germany. I would love to travel and see the world. The Far Side of Normal is going to be just that, a place where for 30 minutes you step out of the crazy, take a breath, laugh at this crazy, awkward, nerdy girl with her randomness, but you also have fun, where it gets you thinking, maybe I should try that, or what did she just do? She's ridiculous. I went to a Korean spa, got scrubbed within an inch of my life, you guys. Came out glowing, skin was flawless. It reminded me in the Bible when the women had to have a year of beauty treatments before they could go see the king and Esther. Alas, I didn't get a king, but I did get gray skin. I've gone to hot springs, those thermal baths with mud everywhere, and then in those caves. That was the whole process. But it was so fun. It was definitely interesting. I've done an international scavenger hunt. Here's a little story. Supernatural, kind of in association with, but not really. They had this scavenger hunt from Misha Collins, who's one of the actors who plays Castiel. Castiel, we love you. It was called Gishwage, or GIS, the greatest international scavenger hunt the world has ever seen. It's been in world record books, and it's a lot. In 2020, I thought, I don't know why I have this feeling that Supernatural, the TV show, is going to end. And I thought Gish might end too. So in my mind, I'm thinking, let me try to do this one time before it ends, you guys. I almost had a nervous breakdown. Because when I'm committed, I'm committed. So we grab the team, you jump in it. They have hundreds of things, and you just pick an item that you think you can do. You do the item, take a picture or upload a video to show that you did it. And then at the end of the competition, whoever has the most points based on all of the things that you've done wins this amazing trip, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even care about the trip. I just thought, let me do this and get through it and survive. Because dang gone, Misha, that was the saying for the week. Misha! But I did it. And at the end of it, they choose the best pictures or the best representation of those items that you checked off. And it's this gorgeous table book that they put the pictures in. Guess who ended up in the table book? With a cotton candy beehive. Here's a sentence I never thought I would say. Cotton candy is extremely hot on your head. And it was melting. It was this whole thing. It was just a lot. But all that to say, I did it because I tried it and it was fun. I want the Far Side of Normal to encourage you to be just that. Step out of normal for a little bit. Be who you are supposed to be, who God created you to be, and do it in such a way that you encourage others, that you maybe inspire others, and that you love who you are. That's what the Far Side of Normal is about. This nerdy, awkward introvert stepping out of her comfort zone and just sharing my life with you. My observations, my rambling and thoughts, my silliness and ridiculousness. Sometimes sensitive topics, sometimes just random topics. Sometimes commentary on, I love TVs and movies and books. Random trivia stuff. I don't know why I know random trivia so much. Whatever. But I want it to be a place of fun where your mom and your daughter and your grandma can all listen to it because it's going to be G or PG. I want to have people on, ask questions, find out what they think. I don't know, share nerdiness. That's me in a nutshell. An awkward, nerdy, kind of shy, introverted outlier Black girl in America trying to figure out my place on this rock called planet Earth and to encourage you to do the same. Welcome to the Farr Side of Normal podcast. There's plenty of room here, and you're more than welcome. Until next time.